When it comes to modeling a 3D shape, whether you are a wood sculptor, stone carver, or 3D modeler, the basics are common among all of these. Begin with a sizable block, chisel out the edges to define the structure and proportions, and smooth it out to achieve overall volume, and then work on the finer details at last. Now, if you have ever crafted something with paper mache, clay, wood, sand, or any other medium, you'll find yourself in somewhat familiar place today. So for those who haven't, allow me to introduce it to you for the first time. And don't worry, you'll have much easier and forgiving time than carving a stone because we are using computers. This is Ram from Crossmind Studio, wishing you all the very best on this journey. This is chapter number 2 of animated character creation series. Get the premium version for bonus chapters, project files, and other useful resources. All the support is much appreciated. Read the description for more info. Let's dive right in. Now before we begin, I'd like to suggest that you download the latest version. I'm using Blender 4.0, so this series was recorded using alpha version, pre-release versions, and the final version of 4.0. However, even if you're using previous versions, like still using LTS 3.6 or something, that is completely fine. I will be explaining what all changes have been here in the previous versions and the latest version as well, so on the way. So don't worry about any of that. And also to be sure, we are using the same setup. From the add-on menu here in the edit preferences, just enable node wrangler. This is going to help us in the material shader editor. This lets you use a few short commands to quickly work around the node editor, which we discussed in the introduction series as well. Then you need loop tools. It can ease out a few of the tasks, which I'll explain during the tutorial. And then you need rigify. So this will be required when we reach the rigging chapter. So just enable all of these three. All right, and then you save preferences. So now just to cross check armature, if this shows human metallic, that means rigify is enabled. If you go to edit mode and select any of these vertices from right here in the edit, you see loop tools. So that means add-ons are now working. Now let's start the work. So to begin with head model, we need to find a basic block first. As we discussed, basic block first, structure and volume, and then final details. A sphere is usually a good start, but we need something with good topology and all quads. So UV sphere have triangles, so my preference is going to be bringing a simple cube and then bevel all of these edges and make it into almost sphere like this. I'm going to leave it at 4 segments. I think it's a good resolution to start with for simple model. Now right at the middle, I'm going to add one more loop by pressing Ctrl R. And now our model is perfectly symmetrical. Now I'm imagining the face of the character will be mostly in the second half of this sphere. To make our work easy, I'm just going to get rid of half of this model. In the face mode, select half of these faces and delete all these. Now from the modifier panel, click on add modifier and search for mirror modifier. Now this way we can work on one side and let the mirror modifier do the rest of the job on the other side. Now I imagine these 4 quads can make a good hole for eye sockets. And from here I can also change and tweak this topology to make a formation of eye socket with circular loops. So I'm just going to press I on keyboard and insert these faces. And once it's done, delete all those 4 faces. With these edges still selected, I'm going to go to the side panel for loop tools that we enabled from add-on and click on circle to make it into a circular formation. Now tweak few of these points around this eye socket and make sure these are evenly distributed and following sort of similar circular formation. I'm using double G to slide these vertices. Just tap G twice to move these and slide. Now we have initial block which defines the overall volume. Now let's work on structure a bit. Let's go to the left view. Now even out this long stretch by simply adding one loop, just like what we did in the front view. Let's enable proportionate editing and grab a vertex around the chin part and try to form profile view of face. Move few of these vertices towards the front to form the jaw and chin, and then grab few of these back vertices to make a circular sort of formation. I'm using proportionate editing and rotating few of these vertices, just taking my time to work on only the profile view for now. If you wish to follow similar sort of design that I'm following, you can find the images from the description. So I still think these vertices could move a bit more further and sort of trying to make a skull kind of shape and trying to define a bit of jawline. Let's go to the front view now. Just push these chin vertices down. So just like how we made circular loops for eye sockets, we need to make a bit of space to add few loops for mouth shape. So you can see here, just by moving few of these vertices down, it's sort of forming a visual for mouth area, and also there's a continuous loop running around it in the second half of the face. So you can say we have changed the flow of topology, and now we can use this flow to make loops for the mouth shape. So let's select two of these faces and inset both of these. From the pop-up menu, disable boundary so that it doesn't create inset on the center edge. Now let's create one more inset and scale this down vertically in Z-axis. Now I'm just going to clean up this corner and make sure it's not intersecting. Now let's grab two of these faces and extrude these inside to form the inside of the mouth. We will work on this later, but for now, leave it as it is. So we have eyes, we have mouth, the initial loops, but we need something for nose. So just going to grab this face and extrude this out. I just need to select this face which is at the boundary and delete it. Make sure clipping is enabled so that these don't overlap at the center in mirror modifier. Now let's apply one subdivision surface and see what's going on. Now I'm going to select this top edge of the nose and move it back and scale it down a little. So at least the basic loops are forming up. And now I'm going to just add one more loop right here between the loops of the lips. Just going to tweak the shape of these lips a little. Maybe the corner of the lips can be a little smaller. And with proportionate editing, I'm just going to try and form this arc of the lips. Move few of these edges back so that from profile view we can see a side of the lips. Now that we have a bit more of structure on face and few more loops to work with, let's take a proportionate editing tool and rework on the shape a little. So just going to revisit the overall shape of the head and try to form the profile view and the main jawline a little. Now the overall volume and structure is there. Now I feel we need a few more loops to start working on details. So Ctrl R to add few more loops in between. I'm going to add few extra right here and one right here. Almost double up few of these front edges. Going to recircle the eye socket and disable flatten so that it doesn't flattens the circle and maintains the 3D form. Now as you can see here, when you have good mesh flow in your model, it becomes really easy to add more loops and make selections. Just Ctrl R and these loops are going to flow exactly in between existing loops. Now that we have few more edge loops to work with, let's try and define few more details on this face. So starting from nose, let's push few of these vertices out. And this right here could be placed for nostrils. So just press I and insert these. I'm just going to delete these and select this border and create circle with loop tools. And now I'm just going to create another extrusion and push these inside and scale these down a little. Now I'm going to add one more loop here and then start scaling down the upper bridge of the nose. It looks too broad, obviously. So let's go to the profile view first, disable the subdivision surface, and let's try and shape this nose as best as we can. As you've seen in the trailer, it's a pretty simple model with bold and round shapes overall. So keeping that in mind, I'm going to keep overall shapes a bit smoother and softer and won't be breaking contours too much. So for now, let's disable subdivision surface. Let's work on the nose a bit more. I'm going to just reduce the broadness of this nose. I'm going to just slide these vertices and just narrow this whole thing down. Now this makes a bit more room around the eye sockets. So let's add one more loop here. And let's push few of these backwards. Just going to slide it, tap double G. To keep the density consistent, let's keep adding loops right here. Slide this right here and add one more. I feel I can smooth out the flow of these loops a bit more, sort of relax it a bit. So just take the smooth tool from the left and maybe a really little smoothing. Now let's continue working on the shape. A bit more pointiness on the nose and one more edge loop around the nostrils. One right here, which is leading to the corner of eyes. I think we have enough loops. We need to fix the overall shape of the head with proportional editing. But before that, let's work on the mouth area a little more. I'm going to push the undernose a little inside and start adding a few more loops for the mouth. Sorry, lips part. And right here, let's push these inside and out to start forming the lip part. I think we have 4 or 5 loops and these should be good enough to make the overall form of the lips. So carefully select these loops. Now the overall lips look way too wide. I'm going to reduce it a bit with proportional editing. Just going to move these inside and yeah, cheeks a bit out, I think. So little by little, this is going to keep building up and in a moment we will see much better face. So at this moment you just need to keep revisiting these areas and see as much as you can refine the shapes and just give it some time. All of this is going to come together in a moment. While making any of these changes, make sure you maintain a good distribution of mesh and keep it clean. With all of these faces still selected, I'm just going to relax it a bit with smooth tool. Now let's fix the overall shape. I think the lips are still wider and I'm going to reduce the scale. Just select all of these loops and with proportional editing, just going to tweak this down a little. Similarly for nose as well, I think we can narrow this whole thing down. Select the surrounding loops and pinch these down a little. Just going to work on the overall proportions of these features because I think we have enough geometry at this moment and we should start focusing on details. But before that, I just want to make sure that I have achieved the overall shape of the head and the basics are fine. So yeah, let's work on this a bit more. I think we can add one more loop here for the lips and close this down a little. So it's much better, but I think I'm going to scale this down a bit more overall. And let's see what's happening in the profile view. Yeah, this whole jawline, we need to work on a bit more. So just grab a few of these faces with proportional editing and start shaping up a good profile view. So at this moment, everything is on the same level. Eyes, nose, and lips. So I'm just going to round this whole thing up a bit more. I think we can push down this chin a little and yeah, move the overall this mouth unit a bit more out and we can smooth out these cheeks. Now what I do is select all of these faces and take this shrink and fatten tool. Now just to push out these volumes a bit more. Now back to the profile view. I think it needs more rounding. Just going to select the back of the head, one of the face with proportional editing and start rotating these. So yeah, and also like I said at the start of the tutorial, I imagine the features of the face to remain in the second half of the face, like half of the sphere. It looks cuter that way. And I don't like all of these points meeting at the cheek. It kind of gets a bit pinchy. So I'm going to delete all of those and create a grid fill. Surprisingly, it did a good job. Now let's make this character a bit more puffier. Push these cheeks out a little. Now right here in the profile view, let's grab these faces and delete these. I'm just going to scale it up a little and delete this. Grab this entire loop and create a circle with loop tools. I'm going to create one extrusion from here and scale this down. I'm going to scale this up vertically to make it tall and I'm going to just rotate this loop and the loop around it a bit towards the back like this. Now, just for the sake of having ears for this stylized character, I'm going to extrude this thing and add one loop in between. Now let's select this, push this out a little, add one more loop and make it round overall with smooth tool. Just going to have a look from different views, and yeah, it might be facing too much towards the back. So I'm just going to grab this with proportional editing and make it face front a little more, and just bevel this center edge. We need a few more quads here, and again smooth this whole thing out a bit more. Yeah, so just overall create a rounder formation or simplified shape. Now right here I think we can add one more edge loop. Just going to space this out a bit more and add one loop in between, and yeah, so select 6 of these faces, or yeah, just create one inside and push these inside a little. Just going to create one circular formation, then manually just fix the form and shape it something like this. I think we can grab few of these faces and push these inside a little more. We can also extrude few of these corners to make it appear more like ear, however stylized this is. Now that we have ears, let's revisit the overall form of the head. I think these corners of the head at the top are way too out, so let's put these down a little. And again, the profile view with ears look a bit different, so just going to create a few more adjustments here. I think we can move the ear down, create a bit more jawline, and make the overall face a bit more cuter. Let's push these lips out, and yeah, chin a bit more round. So overall I think it's coming together. Now as you can see, I'm not adding any more loop cuts at this moment. I'm just focusing on fixing the overall form. I think we can define the back of the ears a bit more. Maybe push these out a little. I think more or less we are there. We just need to work on eyelids a bit more, eye sockets, and create the neck part, and maybe tweak the overall shape a bit more. That's all. Now right here in the eyelids, eye sockets, I'm going to grab this entire loop and create one extrusion and move it inside, and maybe create one more. So we have 2 loops here. So before I detail out the eyelids or anything, I just want to slide few of these vertices here and space these out a bit more evenly. Overall this looks fine. I think we can move the corner of this point, the nose, a bit more inside, and yeah, slide few of these, add one more loop here for eyelids, and yeah, one right here at the top of the nose bridge for eye corners. Now let's select everything, and with shrink and fatten tool just push all of these out a little. I think yeah, don't need to overdo this, just a little more. It's just that I want to make this character a little more cuter, so it's completely up to you if you don't want to do this. Now let's go at the bottom of the face, and here I'm going to grab few of these faces. Now before that, for neck, we are going to create something like this, going to extrude these faces and make a formation like this. So let's grab few of these faces, and then I'm going to delete all of these and select this loop and create a circle with it with loop tools. Now with this loop still selected in the side view, I'm going to create one extrusion and narrow this down, just like what we are drawn here. So just create a 2 or 3, I think 3-4 loops, and create a narrow neck for this character. Let's grab this loop and move it up a little. Now right here at the corner, I'm seeing a weird all of these loops meeting and creating a weird formation. So I'm just going to press V and rip it apart and try to form some chords, or maybe we can simply just grab all of these, delete these, and see if we can grid fill this. So yeah, this does the job sometimes. But if you have personal preferences where exactly you want to land these loops and control more, then you will have to do this manually. So neck part is done. Now what I'm thinking is in the forehead and the head part, we have a bit more spaced out loops. So just going to move these aside and add a few more. You can bevel these or press Ctrl R to add new. So just going to slide few of these vertices and make more consistent distribution. Now ears look a bit too out, so I'm just going to tweak the shape which goes more with head, and going to select all of these and push these inside a little. And neck seemed fine from the profile view, but there's a whole different story in the front view. So first I think we should add a bit more arc to it, just as we discussed in the a bit of drawing that we did. And in the front view, maybe extrude this out one more time. At this moment, this head model is complete. The only thing we need to do is just add a few more loops in the eyelids. But other than that, it's completely up to you how you want to form the overall face. If you have an image of character in mind, or if you have a sketch that you want to follow, just feel free to shape it however you want. So as you can see, I'm just trying to revisit this whole thing up one more time, and just thinking if there are any more improvements I can do in the overall shape. So I'm going to work on formation of lips a bit more, and and can clean out these corners of the mouth. I think all of these loops are meeting here. There's a bit of overlapping going on. So just carefully need to deal with this. So just having a look at all of these shapes from different views, lips, nose and everything, and trying to push these volumes out a bit, break those flat faces. So add more curvature to everything. Yeah, so just going to clean this out, and maybe we can smooth a few of these edge loops to form a better corner which is not overlapping. A bit of smoothing here, and I think we are done. We need to just work on eyelids, and I'm pretty happy with it, honestly. I'm just thinking of moving these loops at the cheek a bit down, like there's a bit of weight, and also the lip formation. We can move the corners down, and yeah, this will make it look a bit more cuter. So right here for the outline of the lip, I think we can add one more edge loop. It's completely optional, but let's see. I'm just going to bevel this loop, and this is going to create this hard line, which is not looking bad. I think I'm going to keep it. So now I'm going to select few of these chin faces and create one inset with boundary disabled, and push this out a little. But this is creating too harsh lines, so I can use a smooth tool to relax this a bit and slightly move it out. Right here at the jaw, I'm just going to slide few of these. There's a weird pinching going on, and maybe we can move this down a little with the proportionate editing. Now let's work on eyelids. We need to add few more loops so we can create eye blinks and close the eyelid. When it expands, it needs more loops. So I'm going to add one shape key right here, and going to select this loop and scale this down in Z-axis. With proportionate editing, this is going to create this gradual transition and close the eyelids. So all the surrounding loops are evenly spaced out because we were working with proportionate editing. And then I think I can add one more loop here and one loop here. Now I'm just thinking whether or not we should add one more loop here. Now once you're done, you can disable the shape key, or even can delete this one. We don't need this. I just wanted to see how many loops we need to create an eye blink. Even if you remove the shape key, those loops are still going to stay. But for now, I'm going to keep this shape key around. I am in no hurry to delete it. And I think we are done. So that concludes chapter number 2. However, we are not finished with this character yet. In the next chapter, we will be modeling the torso part. In each session, little by little, we will keep on adding more stuff to this: torso, limbs, clothes, props, and much more. So there's a whole lot to be excited about, but at the same time, it's really important to revisit what you have learned during this session and practice a bit. So don't stress about creating one perfect head model. That's not going to happen if you are doing it for the very first time. But instead try crafting 5 imperfect ones and you'll find yourself getting much more comfortable with the all important steps. So yeah, that's about it. Jump to Discord server if you'd like to discuss anything related to this on channel dedicated to this series. Check pinned comment for frequently asked questions and problems. Check description for PDF of keyboard shortcuts, discount coupons and other mentioned resources for this tutorial. If you enjoyed this chapter, do check out the full playlist and hope you continue all the way till the end. Also consider buying the premium version and unlock the additional chapters and project files and bonus content, which will take you through the process of rigging with Rigify, creating a nice walk cycle animation, creating secondary animations using plot physics and bone constraints, and rendering your entire project using Cycles Render Engine. Share your work with me on Instagram, tag me with Crossmind, and participate in discussion on Discord channel for this course. Links are in the description. Please give it a like and subscribe and stay tuned for more. Share your thoughts in the comment section and don't forget to share it with your colleagues and on social media to help us reach the wider audience. Thank you for all your support and love. Let's jump to the next video.